So the 9070 XT and the 9070 are releasing. We should be getting benchmarks sometime soon. And honestly, pretty good. Everyone thought, yeah, pretty good. I mean, we haven't got benchmarks yet, but from what we've seen so far, pretty good. Usually, AMD is known for fumbling the bag on everything, pricing wise. Maybe not much of an increase in performance. Like for instance, I think we're all familiar with how AMD will give us an MSRP and then just drop it a month later. And like, what the crap? Like, why are you so jumpy? And it's usually in response to Nvidia doing something. But I do think when AMD said that they're just going to start targeting mid-range cards, I said I'll wait for it. I said, what does that mean? Because honestly, what does that mean? What does mid-range mean? Does mid like you can say it don't perform that good? What does good mean? Like, oh, it only gets 1080p 60 FPS. What the fuck? That's we're going back like 5 years. If that's the case, like that's a not a good sign. But when AMD said they're only gonna focus on mid-range stuff, to me that sounded like okay, we're gonna stop trying to contest with a 50 with a 4090 and a 5090 because people aren't buying our cards. AMD doesn't have a market share like that. If AMD doesn't already have good market share, good reputation, then why are people gonna buy their most expensive card when they could just buy a 4080 that performs the same and better in RT? It is probably just like $100 more expensive at the time. At the moment, now it's like, ooh, no, do not do that. But at the time, that was the case, and like extra $100, and I buy from the bigger company. You know what? Sure, that's what someone's probably thinking. So AMD saying basically saying that they're not going to do that no more. Try to contest with that and just contest what's actually going to help them, helps us, helps us as consumers, helps us as gamers. Want to know why? Because I'm a broke college student. I do not have $1,000 to spend for gaming. And that's my problem. But when you have so many products spread across your lineup at all these different price points, it can be overwhelming. And then it's kind of confusing. Like, well, I could get this 90, no, I could get this 7900 XT for 600, but if I spend an extra $200, I get that 79 XTX for what 900. I'm probably being really bad at math right now. I'm tired. And it doesn't perform much better. It's a good increase, but it doesn't perform much better. But so when they announced those prices at 600 and 550, I'm like, that's great. That's amazing. I still gotta see benchmarks. When we see those benchmarks, mm, will be good. What I really, really loved though, and I genuinely love this, they're not gonna be using the 12-volt high power. They're gonna be using the just normal PCIe that you've been using for like the last 20 years. Oh man, that's perfect fine. That's great. In fact, that's one of the that was one of the biggest turnoffs for me from 40 series and especially from 50 series because those connectors melted. I do know some models of the 79, the 9070 and 970 XT will use 12 volt, but it's only some models. It's like an Asus model or something. For the most part, the PCIe connectors, and we're back, baby. We're back. And when I first bought my first GPU, I think that was the 2060 Super. I believe it was like $500 or something. And that was one of the best purchases of my life because I was upgrading from a 5080, not 50, from 580. I was looking for a 580, going to a 2060 Super. That was a massive increase for me. But these days, you can't get those kind of increases with the same money. You could go, let's say if you go to your from a 2080, I'm not 2060 to what can $500 get you now? 4070. Well, let's say a year ago, before 50 series, that would have got you a 4070. This year, good lugging a 5070. You're not going to find it in stock because AMD has so many issues. I already ranted about this in a different video. Here, I'm just briefly, I'm just talking about the 9070, but I'm just saying back then, you could buy a card. It'd be a good increase for you. The 3060, I know that released later, but 3060, decent increase over 2060. 4060 is no increase over a 3060. It's just eh. It's a little bit better, but no, no. Anyway, back on topic. If that 9070 XT releases, has good stock, has good performance, I might upgrade for my 3080 Ti. From what we've seen, we believe the 9070 XT is supposed to form like a 7900 XT or the 5070 Ti. If it does, imagine that. Imagine getting that performance for 600 bucks. Now, realistically, it's going to cost a bit more. Let's all be honest. Because honestly, products have never cost around MSRP because the AIB still have to get their share, right? The partners have to get their share. So it's realistically going to be like 650, maybe hitting 700. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. I could live with that. I might not buy it then if it's hitting 700, but I understand that price, and I don't feel like it's an un. I don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's an unfair price. But at 970, it costs 550. It's realistically going to hit like 600. You know what? That's fine. So I really do hope AMD doesn't fumble this because this is integral. This is something we haven't had in a long time. Just affordable cards at a good price that perform well. We haven't had this in a long time. We probably haven't actually had this since 30 series and 6000 series. We haven't had cards that were affordable, performed good, and just didn't have issues. Now, I'm not saying AMD's not going to have issues. I'm not shill. AMD can most definitely have issues. Who knows? For all we know, these cards could just up and explode because they don't know how to use PCIe power at all. Somehow regressing more, even though we've already been regressing. But from what we know so far, it looks good. They haven't fumbled at all. Don't AMD, don't fuck it up. That's all. Bye.